When I was going through the Bible to find examples of empathy and how Jesus led an example for us, I decided to find scriptures that resonated to me of what empathy was, and the characteristics of what empathy means to me through my understanding of this class. So, one of the first scriptures was Romans 12:9, which was, "My love must be sincere. I will hate what evil is and cling to what is good." So to me, empathy is a sincere experience between two people or more. It's an even exchange of emotions and sitting with somebody in their pain and in their experience. Another one from Romans 14:10 and 13. "I will not judge my brothers and sisters or regard them with contempt. Instead of judging them, I will resolve not to put a stumbling block or obstacle in their way." So empathy is non-judgmental or shaming. It's not meant to a person coming to you as a counselor or even just as a friend. Jesus shows us that we're not here to judge them. We're not here to shame them. We're supposed to be a safe space for people to share their experience, to share their pain so that they can heal through it, so that they can grow through it, so that they can experience it and witness it for what it is, opposed to just shaming themselves. And we know that shaming is not of God. The feeling of shame means that you feel like you're innately bad. And if you have that belief system that you are innately bad, then you're doing the biggest sin, which is believing that you're not a child of God, that you are not of God, which is, the opposite of what we should be feeling, and is the opposite of what empathy is. So I thought that was a really good one. Then I have First Thessalonians 3:12, which is, "I ask that you, O Lord, make me increase and abound in my love for believers and for unbelievers." As a counselor, it is our job to act ethically, treating all people the same, and to not act in our own bias or prejudices. It is our call from God to act out of love and to be of service, support, and care in our client's walk of healing. So that was really important for me to resonate and to share here, because when we're with our clients, it's not our place to judge them. It's our place to care about them. It's our place to active service for God, active service for our fellow man, to be of love, to show them that they are cared for, to show them that they can become self-resilient, but self-reliant and self-sufficient and heal themselves. And that's what the point of counseling is. Like Dr. Burkhart said in our residency, our mission is to get them to heal themselves, to become self-sufficient. We want the first day to be the day that we work towards getting them out of our office, not because we don't want them there, not because we don't care, but because we care, because we want them to see their own divinity in themselves. So I thought that was really good. And then I also have 1 Peter 4:8. "Above all, I will have a fervent love for others, because love covers a multitude of sin." I think I've said this a lot, but empathy is showing up with love. Empathy is showing up with care. It's showing up with the presence of God. It's holding space for another person to, again, experience what they're feeling. And I believe and think that with our neural pathways and what we've been learning about with neuroscience and how it affects with empathy, that if we come to a person with sincere, genuine love, they can pick up on those feelings as well. They can pick up on our feelings of, "I love you. you are of you are of service, you are of importance, you are of love. And if we can resonate and channel that energy of self-love, that channeled feeling of God loves me, I'm a child of God, I'm in that presence, but I'm also holding space for you in your pain, and I'm not telling you or forcing you that you need to feel this way too. But if I can hold space of feeling those emotions, then I feel that with those mimicking patterns, that the other person, even though they're in pain, on a subtle unconscious level can pick up your vibration of feeling that love and feeling that care for yourself through God, and they can start to pick it up too. And they can believe it too. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you tell somebody that they're loved and, they hear it enough, it is possible for them to start to believe it too, which I think is really cool with mimicking and neural pathways. Then I also have, I will not forget to show I will not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some have entertained angels without knowing it. Hebrews 13:2. All people need empathy. It's not just the people who are going to be our clients. It's not just the people that we care about. It's all people. We're all just, I personally feel like we're all just a reflection of each other. It says so in the Bible that we need to love each other, love our fellow man. And I think it's really important that empathy is shown to everyone and everyone is cared for, and not to overburden ourselves and to take on too much responsibility and create like a Jesus complex. We can't save the world. That's up to Jesus. But we can help and we can spread the message of love and kindness for everyone. So some stories of empathy in the Bible that I resonated the most with was obviously the Good Samaritan, which really resonated for me in so many different reasons, but just the fact that people who, a priest walked by and he didn't help him. And then the Good Samaritan helped the man that was hurt on the side of the road and cared for him. And that's empathy. He was able to recognize that man's pain. He was able to recognize that he really needed help. And he showed up and he cared for him. And that's an act of God. That's an act of service. That's an act of love. Not turning our cheek to fellow people just because, for numerous of reasons, because we don't want to. So that's one of my favorite stories in the Bible. And then also I really enjoyed John 11. Jesus comforts the sisters of Lazarus. He weeps with the sisters. He feels for them. And I think it was a profound example of Jesus, both Son of God and Son of Man, that he experienced pain and wept with them and felt with them and really stood in that pain with them, that he didn't hide that about himself, that he didn't over spiritualize and be like, oh, well, he'll be with me in heaven, so it's okay. Like, that's not real life, and it's really dangerous to do something like that. So I think it was a beautiful example of empathy to show the pain of his death, even though he resurrected him, that he was able to feel his emotions. And I think it's a good example for us as people, because we can tend to get a little I don't want to say crazy, but a little crazy, that we over spiritualize things and we like brush things under the rug. But sometimes we really need to feel the pain and we need to be in it. And it feels so good and comforting to feel it with someone, which brings me to my next story, which would be Job, which is a story that really shook me to my core. And Job's friends could not handle Job's pain. So they were trying to find reasons as to why Job was going through it, which reminded me of, I believe it was in our first week when we watched the empathy video for Brene Brown, and how people just try to paint a silver lining with like sympathy. So we try to we get uncomfortable because another person's pain triggers our own, and we don't want to feel it. So we're like, oh, well, this is why it's happening. And we're just trying to find reasons and answers as to why things happen. And sometimes we just don't know. So, his friends were saying how, well, your children were sinners, so they got what they deserved. But they didn't really know why it was happening. So instead of just trying to put a blanket on things, sometimes it's just best to say, this is hard. This is really painful, and I'm sorry that you're going through it. And I'll be a good friend, and I'll sit with you, and I'll care for you, and I'll hear you. And I'm here to support you. So overall, I think that's really what empathy is showing me through the Bible, through the works of Jesus, that we're just supposed to show up for each other. We're not supposed to answer each other's questions and the meaning of life, and just any of those really big existential questions that can only be answered between your own personal relationship with God. But we're here to be of service to each other, and we're here to care about each other through empathy and through that connection of understanding that we're all children of God. We're all here together, believers and non-believers. We all have a space in God's heart for everyone, and each person needs to be cared for because of that. So that is my reflection on empathy, and I really enjoyed this class and all that it's taught me, especially through a biblical Christian worldview.